Okay, so let's say that you're a buyer in the current very tough seller's market. Now, some people may be worried about the interest rates going up. However, there's a good chance that these rates will continue to go up, so many people are still strongly motivated to buy. Now, let's say that you're a buyer in this very competitive market. What can we do to increase your chances of success? I'm going to go through some tips today to help you achieve victory when you're bidding against other buyers for a particular property. First of all, you want to do your homework. So this is an example of an MLS info sheet. So everything on this MLS info sheet you should be familiar with before you enter the property, such as the price, the square footage, the interior square footage, as well as the exterior square footage, what year the property was built, what the HOA dues are, etc. You don't want to be asking very basic questions to the listing agent at the time that you view the property. Second, you want to be very courteous. Some people will come in and be very critical about the property, say, oh, this needs fixing, oh, the roof looks like it's in bad shape. If you have negative commentary, it's usually best to keep those to yourself. Just make a note of it and then come back to later in the negotiations or something with your own agent privately. You don't want to make a big scene or leave the listing side with a bad impression, because that could affect your chances of being selected during a potential bidding war. Third, you want to be at least pre-approved, ideally pre-underwritten. Do not come into a bidding situation with only a pre-qualification. Pre-qualification is basically you filling out some questions on an online form. People are just assuming that you're telling the truth and no literature has actually been submitted. So you're going to want to at least get a formal pre-approval letter from a lender. And we also recommend that you take the further step of getting pre-underwritten. Now, not every lender can do this. If you need this service, we can put you in touch with people who can do it. But basically, it guarantees that your loan will be funded. When you do this, it kind of closes the gap between an offer that requires a loan and an offer that's all cash. It will shorten your escrow period by several days, which also helps your competitiveness. Fourth, you want to maintain your credit throughout the entire bidding and escrow process. So this means that you should not be taking out new credit cards, you should not be taking out loans, you should not be making big purchases, because this is going to affect your credit. And anything that changes with your credit is going to be noticed by a lender. And don't forget that before a loan funds, they will pull your credit again to see if anything has changed since the time that you made the application until the time that the loan is funding. So don't believe that you can get away with it because you already got your loan pre-approved by your lender. Okay, fifth, when you're making your offer, you want to have your agent do their best to find out what the seller wants. So some sellers are very sensitive to time. They want to close very quickly. Some sellers are more sensitive just to the bottom line, so how much money they're going to be taking out of the transaction. Some sellers are very sensitive to not wanting to repair the roof or chimney or some other part of the house. They're going to want to have no repair credits in the offer. Generally speaking, you're going to want to submit as clean of an offer as you can, so the fewest contingencies. And very importantly, do try to find out what the seller has in mind, and usually you're going to find this out through the listing agents. So keep pushing and prodding and asking until you at least have a good idea of what needs to be in your offer to make it successful. Don't forget to verify the offer deadline. So there will usually be an exact point in time when they will close the window for new offer submissions. So you want to be sure that you are submitting your offer before that window closes. You can also choose to submit an early bird offer, as I discussed in my last video. If you do so, you're going to want to do that well before the offer deadline. I cannot stress this enough, but when you're entering a bidding situation, be sure that you have a good agent. Definitely do not try to go and write your own offer if you're not an agent, because it's going to be impossible to compete with other buyers who are bringing agents. Don't forget that, at least in Southern California, all of the buyer's agent commissions are paid out of the seller side. So you are not going to be adding to your cost in buying the home if you use an agent, but your agent will act on your behalf, help you to get the best possible deal, and very simply increase your chances of winning the bidding war.
So let's look at some recent data points that will give us insight into how the market is evolving as interest rates continue to climb. Our methodology is to focus on a popular home size, in this case 1,800 square feet, in a specific area, and to normalize the sales data to give us an apples-to-apples comparison. Normally, you will see real estate sales data that talks about average price, which can be misleading as it compares very different properties and is often biased by unusually high or low priced transactions. Our proprietary method looks at a specific market segment, excludes data outliers that are due to flips or other unusual circumstances, and normalizes the sale price based on a number of features of the home. In this episode, we look at a hypothetical 1,800 square foot single-family home in the Thousand Oaks, California area. We see that over the past year, the overall price trend has been generally flat. The lowest level of pricing that we saw was around $900,000 in July and August of 2021, with the highest level of pricing at around $1.11 million manifesting in September of 2021 and March and July of 2022. Next, we consider the days the property was listed on the market before it entered into a contract to be sold. The month-to-month changes in days on market will give us an indication of whether the market is accelerating or slowing. For a 1,800 square foot single-family home in Thousand Oaks, California, we can see that the market was slowing through September of 2021, then started to speed up through February of 2022, and finally cooled off a bit through the end of June. However, the current average days on market would still be considered a fast market by historical standards. The average time to sell a house in California was 51 days in 2019, 51 days in 2020, and 40 days in 2021. California's average days on market was already much lower than the national average days on market, which was 67 days in 2019, 65 days in 2020, and 40 days in 2021. Finally, we consider the sale price percentage over list price. This can give us an indication of the intensity of bidding wars for individual houses. Assuming that the list price was set reasonably, a sale price far above the list price often indicates that multiple bidders were intensely competing for a single property. The Thousand Oaks, California data shows the least intense competition during January of 2022, but relatively robust competition from February to June of 2022, somewhat more than the latter half of 2021. Generally speaking, our data metrics indicate that the Thousand Oaks, California real estate market is holding up well in the face of rising interest rates. Other factors that may be playing a role are limited inventory, strong demand, and high inflation. As we have seen, real estate analytics can be a powerful tool to help you gain an advantage in your real estate transaction. Please feel free to reach out to me at any time. I look forward to working with you to give you an in-depth study of your particular property and to help you make the most out of your real estate transaction.